Kadosh, Boker Or, Masechet Kiddushin Daf Chet Amud Aleph. We were talking about right now that we were speaking about the entire concept of that whether be'emet we needed to eat from the Yashan or not from the Yashan, meaning like from the Chadash, from before the 16th or not. And basically what we actually said was that there was going to be a miracle that we know that because of the zechut of Moshe Rabbeinu came the man. Correct? Now, because Moshe Rabbeinu passed away on the 7th of Adar, so when he passed away, the man stopped falling. But now they didn't have food yet. Remember that they have to go into the land of Israel. Where are they going to get food now? So there was a miracle that basically that there was food that was left over in their kelim, and the food stayed in their kelim, meaning from the man, it stayed over, and that food was satiated them for the next 39 days until the how do you call this? Until the 16th, right, of Nisan, which is 39, right, days. Okay? So Tanya Idach, we come, right? He comes and he says like this. He comes and he says in a Braita, Uvnei Yisrael, right? Uvnei Yisrael achlu et haman 40 shana. So Bnei Yisrael come and they ate the man for 40 years. So ask the Gemara, did they eat, right? Right? Did they eat the man for 40 years? He says, Valo 40 shana chaser 30 yom achlu. Says, 1 second, it was lacking 30 days. He comes and he says, why does he? He says, because Achilat Haman stopped on the 16th of Nisan, and 40 years after they came out of Mitzrayim was b'chamisha b'Nisan b'shana rishona. And it says, b'chamisha yom lechodesh shishini, the 15th of the second month, which means, when did the manna start coming down? In the second month when they left Mitzrayim, right? So, if it was only going to be on the 15 days of the second month, so therefore, what happens then? It wasn't for 40 years. One more time. They left Egypt on Pesach. When is Pesach? 15th of, right? 15th of Nisan. Okay, so now, when they left on the 15th of Nisan, so it comes out that the next month, right? It says in the Torah, 15th day of the second month of Iyar. And that's when it comes down, the manna. So now, if the manna started coming down on the 15th of Iyar, so therefore, 1 second, when you do 40 years later, it finished on the 16th of Nisan. It wasn't for 40 years. Yes, it finished on the 16th of Nisan. So you need another month. So he comes and he says, it's lacking 1 month. So he comes and he says, Lomar lecha, to teach you, she'ugot she'otziu mimitzrayim, ta'amu bahem ta'aman. Meaning that the ugot that they came out, right? He comes and he says, the ugot that they came, it says in the Torah.
In the Midbar.
But it's not 40 years.
But why? They were in the Midbar before the manna started.
Ella, but rather, to tell you, to teach you that the matzot, right? Those are the ugot matzot, kilo chametz, yeah? The ugot, which are the matzot, the Bnei Yisrael to Kara Mitzrayim, they ate for the first 30 days until the man had the time of man. And therefore, if it tells you that they ate keilu man for 40 years, complete years, it was 40 years, complete years. It's true, the first month was the man of matzot, and then it was the man. And then you had the 40 years. Okay? Tanya Ida.
You realize my point.
Tanya Ida. Huh?
You realize what?
Tanya Ida. There was another Braita. This is a Braita, Tosefta, and a Seder Olam, where it says, B'shiva ba'adar me Moshe, Shiva ba'adar nolad. We know that Moshe Rabbeinu passed away, and he was born on the 7th of Adar. Minayin sheb'shiva ba'adar met. How do we know that on the 7th of Adar he passed away? Shneimar b'zez pasuk v'yamot sham Moshe eved Hashem. That Moshe eved Hashem passed away. Now, in order to know when exactly, we have to say what happened beforehand. So it says, they cried for Moshe Rabbeinu for 30 days. And it says, written, this is the beginning of Yoshua, this is Haftarah of Simchat Torah. And it says, Moshe Avdi met, ואתה קום עבוד את הידן הזה. וכתיב, עברו קומו במחנה, וצוו את העם לאמור אכילו לכם צידה, וכי בעוד 3 ימים אתם עוברים את הידן. וכתיב, העם עלו מן הירדן, בעשור לחודש הראשון. So he says, 1 second. If we have 30 days of Avelut of Moshe Rabbeinu. So it finished on the 10th of Nisan. Okay? 30 days, right? He comes and he says, one second. It comes out that the Shloshim Yemei Vlo and the Shloshet Yemei Achana, because you also had 3 days of Achana to go into Eretz Yisrael. So if you have the 30 days, right, from the 7th of Adar, and then you have also the 3 days of preparation, it finishes on the 10th of Nisan. Now, if you're going to come and you're going to go backwards 33 days, right? Meaning like this, you're right, the date of Moshe Rabbeinu, we don't know. But we know the date that they're going to go into Israel. Now, we already know that there was 30 days, right? There was
the 16th of Nisan, no?
No. Right? He comes and he says, on the 10th of Nisan, prepare yourself to go to the land of Israel. Right? So he comes and he says, right?
Sorry, but before, we said that when the man stopped, they entered on the 16th.
No, they had the man until the 16th of Nisan. This is when they went in. Now it says, it's a pasuk. The pasuk says, "V'ha'am alu min hayarden be'asor lachodesh harishon." Asiri, asor, chodesh harishon, Nisan. So therefore, if you have the 10th of Nisan, and you already know that there was 30 days of Avelut and 3 days of preparation, do 33 days backwards, and then you know it's 7th of Adar. So how do we know? Okay, fine. Now we know when he died. How do you know that when he was born? Shneimar says in the pasuk, "Vayomer alehem Moshe," right? El bnei Yisrael b'yom moto b'me'ah ve'esrim shana anochi hayom lo uchal od lotzev v'lavo. When he comes and he says b'me'ah ve'esrim shana hayom, what do you mean hayom? Hayom means shen tolo hayom. What's the coming to hayom? Why do I need the word hayom? Mata muluman hayom. מלמד שהקדוש ברוך הוא יושב מלא שנותיהם של צדיקים יום ליום מחודש לחודש. He comes and he says he's going to be מלא the years of the tzadikim from yom liyom and from chodesh lechodesh shene'emar, זה פסוק נספר ימיך מלא, which means הקדוש ברוך הוא is going to be מלא the days of the tzadikim, right? And נספר ימיך מלא, and he's going to actually fill them. So therefore you see that that's what he's actually doing. So Tanya, we learned in the Braita, B'shubam Yochai comes and he says Shalosh mitzvot nitzavu Yisrael b'knisata la'aretz. Right? So now we just said, right? Okay, we're continuing already. So basically, that's how we know that Moshe Rabbeinu also was born and passed away on Shiva Be'adar. Says the Gemara, we're going back to that which we said, the entire concept of Orlan Kilaim, right? And Chadash. Tanya, we learned in the Braita. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai comes and he says, Shalosh mitzvot nitztavu Yisrael b'knisatan la'aretz. He says there were 3 different mitzvot the Bnei Yisrael were commanded when they go into the Eretz Yisrael, which has to do with whether it's going to be Chutz Haaretz or in Eretz Yisrael. Vehu adin sheinagu, and the same halacha would apply, but that it's going to be al kal v'chomer. Uma chadash she'en yisuro yisurulam. Chadash, there's always going to be a heter. Do you know that chadash is considered davar sheyesh lo matinim? What does it mean davar sheyesh lo matinim? Davar sheyesh lo matinim means that you will have a heter to the chadash. Right? And therefore, right, he comes and he says, what does it mean that you have a heter of the Chadash? We know, for example, let's say you want to do bitul. You know what bitul means? I'm going to mix this with something else. What do I say? So if it's going to be a solid, it's a chabitrei, 1 and 2. If it's going to be a liquid, chabeshishin. If it's going to be truma, so it's, you're going to have, the one in the 100, one in the 200s. You've got all the different things, right? Okay, fine. What happens to do with, davar sheyesh lo matinim? Davar sheyesh lo matinim afilu be'elef lo batel. Why is afilu be'elef lo batel? Why are you going to eat a beisur if you could eat a be'eter? Meaning like this: you had a piece of pig. A piece of pig comes and gets mixed up with another 2 pieces of meat. So if it's solid and solid, 1 and 2 it's batel. I don't know which one's which. I come and say all 3 you're allowed to eat. Obviously not at the same time.
Even amount,
right? What?
Even amount.
Right, which means 1 piece of pig and 2 pieces of kosher. Echad bitrei batel, right? Echad bitrei batel. 1 and 2 is going to be batel. No, not in 6, not grams. One more time. 1 piece and 2 pieces.
Nothing to do with
what? Nothing to do with. Right? Again, one more time. 1 piece and 2 pieces.
So 1 piece like this and 2 pieces like this.
So he says, we know that echad bitrei batel. Echad bitrei batel means 1 and 3 1 and 2 becomes batel. So you got 1 piece of non-kosher and 2 pieces of kosher, rov, batar rov, you go after the rov. Echad bitrei batel. If it's a liquid, now you need 60. What does it mean 60? 60 times. Because so if you've got it inside of a liquid, you need 60 times. That's why when it comes in, it's going to need 60 times. Now comes the halacha and says, what about something that has a heter? We know the pig will never have a heter. The meat will never have a heter. But here, it does have a heter. Why? Let's say you have chadash. And you say, you know what? They mixed the chadash with the yashan. I'm not sure where it went. Not to eat nothing. And the reason why is because you could wait until after the 16th of Nisan, and then everything becomes mutar. And once, that's called the davar, sheyesh lo matirim. Something that has a heter later on. And since it has a heter, wait for the heter, and that's it. And once you wait for the heter, right, you're not, so therefore, the same thing. He comes and he says this, Uma chadash she'en isuro olam. Chadash is not an isur forever, because after the 16th of Nisan, everything becomes yashan. Then isura na. There's also, it's not a subana. You're allowed to sell it, right? You're just not allowed to eat it. You're allowed to sell it. V'yesh heter li'isuro, and there's going to be a heter for its isur. You bring the korban on the 16th of Nisan, and now that's it. Noheg ben ba'aretz le'chutzaretz. It's going to be noheg whether it's Eretz Yisrael or chutzaretz. Kilayim is a isur forever. V'isurim, you're not allowed to benefit from it. V'heter li'isur, there's no such thing as a heter. So enodin she'inagu ba ben ba'aretz. So it should be a kal v'chomer then. V'hu adin le'olah b'shtayim. The same halacha would apply kal v'chomer in olah and shtayim, because the olah is chamur, right, mechadash, with two of the three things. It's isur ana'ah, right, and there's no heter. But there is a heter afterwards, because after 3 years, now it becomes mutar. So, one more time. There's three concepts. First of all, is it isur leolam? Number two, asur hana'ah. And number three, is there a heter li'isuro? So, chadash, it's not isur olam, right? It's not asur bana, and it's not, there is a heter for isuro. All three of them. Okay, that means that's by chadash. Kilayim, it's asur by all three. Right? So if you say that chadash is going to be asur, whether in Eretz Yisrael or Chutz Haaretz, kal v'chomer kilayim, because kilayim is leolam, right? You're never allowed to do kilayim. Kilayim, when you mixture of the different fruits and vegetables and things like that, right? You've got, so it's asur leolam. It's going to be asur bana, you're not allowed to benefit from it, and there's no heter li'isuro. Now, orla, what? No, right? So it's a kavachomer that orlash, the kilayim should also be asur, also whether it's going to be in Eretz Yisrael or Chutz Haaretz, right? And orla is going to be 2 out of the 3. Why 2 out of the 3? It's going to be asur bana, and it's going to be asur, right? It's going to be there's no heter of the isuro, but it's not asur olam. Because remember, after 3 years, everything's permitted. Comes Rabbi Rabbi Shimon, he argues on his father, because the other one was Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. So now it's Rabbi Lazar. So Rabbi Lazar ben Shimon Omer, Rabbi Lazar ben Shimon comes and he says, Lamchet Mubet 38b, Kol mitzvot shenitztavu Yisrael kodem knisatan la'aretz. All the mitzvot the Bnei Yisrael were obligated to be fulfilled before they came into the land of Israel. Noheg ben ba'aretz uben bechutz haaretz applies whether it's going to be in Eretz Yisrael or whether it's going to be in Chutz Haaretz. But if it's after the entering of Eretz Yisrael, it's only going to be in Eretz Yisrael, except for shmatat kesefim, shmitav, the money, shuruach avadim, sending out the slaves free. That even though they were going to be only commanded after they went in Eretz Yisrael, it's going to be whether it's in Chutz Haaretz and also Eretz Yisrael. We were talking about that, except for the concept of Hashmatak Safim, right, which is going to be basically the entire concept of that you have to forgive loans, right, and Shiluach Avadim, sending out the Avadim during the year of Yovel, because even though we were only commanded on these things after we went into Israel, it applies always, okay? So therefore, as we're going to see right now. So says the Gemara, Hashmatak Safim Chuvat HaGufi. He says, 1 second, well, Hashmatak Safim is new land, right? So therefore, Hashmatak Safim just means somebody owes you money. Now you're going to come, no, I forgive them. What does it have to do with the land? So he says, Lo nitzich halelech l'Tanya. He says, we need this for that which we learned in a Braita. The Tanya was learned in a Braita. Rabbi Omer, Rabbi says, V'zed devar shenita shamot, right? Kol ba'al ma sheyado, asher yashav eleo. Right? B'shtei shmitot, hakatuv medaber. He comes and he says, right? The b'shtei mitot, right? He comes and he says like this. He says, right? He says like this. B'shtei shmitot, hakatuv medaber. One of them is Shmitat Karka, which means that the Karka, right? He comes and he says, we're talking about that you're not allowed to come and you're not allowed to do anything which is Charisha, Zriya. That means during the year of Shemitah, you're not allowed to come and you're not allowed to plow, plant, all these things. One of them is that you have to actually do Shmitat Ksafim. Both of them is Shemitah. Shemitah is like you have to stop. You have to forgive, as if say you're stopping from something. So he says, so during the time when you're going to be Chayav and Shmitat Karka, Okay, so he comes and he says, right, that means only when you're going to be in Eretz Yisrael, אתה משלם כספים. בזמן שאתה משלם קרקע, when you're not going to do it, so אתה משלם כספים. So if you're not going to, so therefore, according to this shita, right, so according to Rabbi, there's a limud miyuchad, right, that it's not going to be shmita ksafim before Eretz Yisrael, even though it is chovat aguf. Meaning there's a special limud to say that even though it's chovat aguf, there's a special din to do with it. So says the Gemara, ve'ema b'makom she'ata meshamet karka ata meshamet ksafim. 1 second. Why are you saying it bizman? Why don't you say it's b'makom? Because you just said during the time that there's shmitat karka, you also do shmitat ksafim. When there's no. Why don't you just say the place? We know that shmita only applies in Israel. So why don't you just say, right? And so the Gemara, it's everywhere where you are. Anywhere where you are, you're going to have this concept of the shmitat ksafim. What about now shiluach avadim? Shiluach avadim is chovat hagufi. Also, you have to send him out. You have to send him free. There's nothing with the land. What do I care about the land? So he says, I would have thought to say, ba'aretz in b'chutz haaretz lo. Says no, but I would have thought to say that since it's written that you're going to call a year of freedom in the land, so it's only in the land, meaning it's only in Eretz Yisrael, but outside of b'chutz haaretz, basically you don't say that it's going to be free. Tamolomar comes teaching yovelhi. What does it mean yovelhi? Anywhere where you are, you have to come. You have to free up the slaves. So what does it come to teach you the concept of ba'aretz? He says, "Vizman shadror noheg ba'aretz." During the time when the shiluach avadim is going to be noheg in Eretz Yisrael, which is when all Yisrael yoshvim ba, noheg bechutz haaretz. Kishe'en dror noheg ba'aretz, when it's not going to be noheg ba'aretz, eno noheg bechutz haaretz. It's not going to be noheg bechutz haaretz. Tanan hata. Right? We come and we learned in a Mishnah. Hechadash asur min Torah bechol makom. So the chadash is going to be asur min Torah everywhere. Okay, that's a Mishnah. There's a Mishnah in Orla. So it says over there that the chadash is going to be asur min Torah everywhere. It doesn't matter where it is. Ha-Orla is halacha. The Orla is actually from halacha. Halacha Moshe Sinai. The Kilaim is only going to be midivrei sofrim. It's only going to be midivrei rabbanan. So it says the Gemara, my halacha. What does it mean halacha now? Because we just said, Achadash is Mina Torah. There's nothing to talk about. Orla is halacha, which we're going to see it's going to be halacha Moshe Sinai. And Kilaim is Midivrei Sofrim. So what does it mean halacha? Hilchata Medina, right? What does that mean? Hilchata means Medina. It's minhag makom, minhag Medina, which means they accepted upon themselves and Shechutzar, it's do Isur Orla. So it comes out that it's only mikoach minhag. Okay, that's what it says over here. So that means it's mamash. It's like mamash even lower. So it's mamash ilchot medina. It's mamash like the minhag. Ulamar, Ula comes and he says the name of Yochanan. No, and when it says halacha, it's halacha Moshe Sinai. That's like two extremes. Because the halacha Moshe Sinai is mamash. There's nothing more to talk about. You understand? It's mamash like Mina Torah, and they accepted this from Moshe Rabbeinu. But hilchot medina is just minhag medina. Minhag medina. Okay, minhag makom. You know, that's it. So Amale Ula comes and he says the Rav Yehuda to Rav Yehuda. Because remember, Rav Yehuda was one that says hilchot medina. I understand according to me that Moshe Sinai, and that's why we're going to make a differentiation between Safek Ola and Safek Kilaim. Right? What does that mean? To do in Chutz Haaretz. And we're going to be machminim in Safek Ola more than in Safek Kilaim. Because Yisur Ola is no heg in Chutz Haaretz because of Halachal Moshe Sinai. Right? But Kilaim is only D'Rabbanan. The Tanan is we learned in Mishnah Safek Ola, Ba'aretz Asur, Bechutz Haaretz, Besuya it's going to be Mutar. Chutz Haaretz, Yored veLokeach, you just come here. Uvivad shelo yirenu, but as long as you don't see, right, that the Lokeach does not see the Loket the perot from the Ola. But by Kilaim we learned, Kenemanatu Yerek Nimkar Chutzalo, Ba'aretz is going to be Asur, Besuya it's going to be Mutar, and Chutz Haaretz Yored veLoket. Uvivad shelo yilkot bayad, but just don't do it with your hand. So see, you come from here and you see the Mishnah is being more mekel in a Safek of Kilaim in Chutz Haaretz more than in a Safek Ola. So that's matim with Rabbi Yochanan. But Rabbi Yochanan says, Orla is halacha Moshe Sinai. So obviously you're going to be more machmir than stam midivrei sofrim. But according to you, if it's just stam minhag makom, why in the world are you going to be more machmir in Orla than Kilaim? Doesn't make sense. Kilaim is D'Rabbanan. This is minhag makom. So he went and he finished but according to you, right? He says, nitni o ze v'ze yoreh veLokeach, o ze v'ze yoreh veLoket. You should learn the same halachot. So answers the Gemara on the Masechet Amud Aleph on the top. Ha'amar l'Shmuel l'Ravanan Shmuel went and he told Ravanan, Tani Ozev is a Yorev Lokeach, Ozev Yorev Lokeach. Because no, you're right. According to him, and Shmuel, they have the same halachot, which means either by both of them, you're going to say Yorev Velokeach min goy, right? Even though it could be that it's going to be a Safek Isur, or in both of them, it's going to be Yorev Velokeach Avur Yisrael, even if it's going to be a Veda Isur, but they both have the exact same halachot. You're right. There's not going to be a differentiation between Orla and Kilaim, because according to the Shitav Shmuel, it's a B'diuk Oto Dovar. And we'll continue with Zat Hashem tomorrow.